Good Friday morning. I'm Chris Jansing, and a big surprise this morning. New numbers are out, and unemployment dropped significantly in November from 9% to 8.6%. That's the lowest in 2.5 years. Could be a huge plus for the White House. We are expecting to hear from the president later this morning. But the big drop comes in spite of relatively weak job growth. Just 120,000 new positions created. I'm joined now by Diane Swonk, chief economist at Mesirow Financial, who was named one of the top forecasters in the country by the Wall Street Journal. Good morning.
Good morning.
Numbers. Diane, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you now.
What is your analysis of these new numbers?
Well, it certainly is good news in that the trend is moving in the right direction. And every time we do get a month of data, we're seeing previous payroll data revised up. And that's after a very weak spring and summer. So clearly the job situation is stabilized and beginning to pick up slightly. The operative word here is slightly, not enough. The reduction in the unemployment rate, that's a different survey than the payroll survey, which largely surveys established companies, large establishments. The household survey actually calls people up and says, are you employed? Are you not employed? And there were some mixed numbers in that. The good news is more people got jobs. Almost 278,000 more people said they were working this month in the household survey. The bad news is a lot of people also dropped out entirely, and the number of long-term unemployed remained unchanged. So those people who did get jobs, they actually got jobs because they are either already employed or they were just had been marginally unemployed only for a few weeks or so and got a new job. The people who've been unemployed for more than 6 months are still having a very tough time. And also the labor force participation rate, that's sort of a measure of hope out there. More people that are willing to participate, throw their hat into the ring and actually look for a job. That means that there's hope that they'll find a job, and that usually pushes the unemployment rate up. That rate actually fell. So there's a lot of mixed news. The trend is in the right direction, but I don't like to make too much out of a 1 month move.
Yeah, let's, and that's never a good idea, but let's take a look at least what this month does tell us, and maybe if it's indicative of some trends, where the jobs are being created. Where are these a lot of seasonal hirings? What sector is seeing job growth?
Well, certainly there were a lot of seasonal hirings. Retail was revised up both for October and a very strong number in the month of November as well, although I can't seem to see those hires when I go to the store, so I'm not getting any better service out there. But apparently there is being some hiring in the retail sector. And that composition where it was very heavily in the service sector and a lot of low-wage retail jobs versus manufacturing, construction jobs, which are higher paid, and also we lost a bunch of high-paid government jobs, it meant that average hourly earnings, even though we had an increase in employment, actually fell. And that's because of the composition of the jobs we have out there weren't the most ideal composition to boost wages.
Companies are still sitting on about $2 trillion in cash. Are there any indications in any numbers in recent months that might suggest there'll be a loosening of the purse strings soon and add more long-term jobs here?
Well, that certainly is what the Fed is hoping and trying to get done. I think that requires some level of certainty and vision. And the reality is fiscal uncertainty in the United States and the uncertainty that we're continuing to see in Europe causes more hesitation. And in fact, in the manufacturing sector, even though manufacturing is picking up, they're substituting more capital for labor, and they're finding it very hard to hire those really highly skilled UAW workers that retired out. There's no one behind them to replace them, the machinists, the electricians. I'm sort of hoping that some people from the construction industry can get retrained and move in now to those high-skilled jobs in the manufacturing sector. But that is still the big issue, is when is that more than $2 trillion going to get unlocked? And right now it looks like some of this job creation is actually finally coming from new businesses, startups. And that wouldn't be captured in the payroll survey, but is captured in the household, where they call up and say, hey, are you working? And I certainly walk down my own street, and a bunch of new businesses have opened up where other places were shuttered. And those new businesses have hired some people. Whether they can survive is, of course, very important. But that's what we need to see, is some new small businesses, startups out there.
Diane Swonk, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much.